Yeah, we can start.
I'll call to order the Tuesday, October 1st, 2024 meeting of the Town of West Newbury Planning Board. We have several items on the agenda. The first item being Lot 1 release for Deer Run. And I believe Jen checked it. Katrina, I don't know if you're up to speed on Deer Run. It's off Main Street across from the Orchard. It's been under construction now for about a year and a half, I'd guess. And I think that everything was clear for the Lot 1 release.
Yes, I actually talked to Michael Crow yesterday. He came in the office. And he said that he had also run it by our conservation agent, and I confirmed that, that everything is fine with the release, and he submitted his check for the Affordable Housing Trust, and it looks like it's clear for the board to release it.
Good. Is there any discussion by the planning board?
So, yeah, just is this the last two units, if I recall how things are working out, or not? I guess that's the question, that there's one more unit still to be released. Is that correct? And I know, Katrina, you don't probably have the answer to that.
Lot 1 is on the plan, and it's now known as number 2 and number 4 Major Boyd Drive. And yeah, I'm unsure, Brian.
Well, we did the last one we looked at was the conversion of the house, right? The units in the house, and then prior to that, there was one release, right, for one of the lots.
I believe, yes.
Yeah. Like, are there 6 altogether? 6 units?
I'm guessing 6 units, 3 lots. Let me, I might be able to do something here.
This is a bonded project, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so usually if someone posts a bond, you know, they will release all the lots at one time. And so if there's a bond on it, then you can be assured that it'll be finished, right? Even if you release the lots?
Well, yeah, he's only looking for one right now because he has to pay the
Right.
affordable housing piece. He's paid the other affordable housing dollars in the past. It was really just a question. I mean, I think he's got at least one more unit to release.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. So there's a total of 8, right? So there was 6 new, I think, right?
And the conversion of the existing house.
Yes.
Into a
Yeah,
duplex.
and those were the other 2. Yes. So you're absolutely right. There's one more lot with 2 units left.
Yeah, I haven't been in there for a while to.
I think it's the one in the way back that
See, I agree. Yeah.
it's left. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, then I move that back to here. I remove that we release Lot 1 as shown on the plan, now known as number 2 and number 4 Major Boyd Drive.
Second?
Yeah, Katrina, is that in line with his numeric?
I just read that off the Form J certificate of.
Oh, that's on the form. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No problem. Thank you.
Yep. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, Ray Cook, aye.
Tim Cronin, aye.
Murphy.
It's unanimous of the 3 planning board members present. Good.
Now we have to sign that, right, Katrina?
You do.
Yeah, and also pending signature is the
The A&R.
A&R, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, we
signed
only
that.
have one signature on that so far.
I signed that today when I went in.
Okay.
Can you put that out tomorrow? Because otherwise I won't be in back for a week.
Oh, and do we usually put it down in the vestibule?
Yeah, unless Ray can, Ray, can you sign that for everybody?
So in other towns, what the board would do is vote to authorize the chairman to sign on their behalf. I don't know if you're comfortable doing that.
We usually sign.
Okay,
I mean,
Yeah, but,
if it's a,
and then my signature is the only one that needs to be notarized.
yes.
okay.
And tomorrow I can swing by. Are you in tomorrow, Katrina?
So I actually have jury duty that I have to go to, but I can send a message to Jen to try and get this down. I know, jury duty, the third day of the job.
Go figure.
And so I'll try my hardest to get it over there. Unless, Brian, you could print out the form which you have in your package and then bring it in signed.
I could do that, yes. Yes. I'm just
So which-
making a note for myself.
Right now, there are a number of blanks still on the Form J, things that haven't been filled out yet.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, book and page and that sort of thing.
No, I think it is. Everything is filled out because it's a registry of deeds book and page, and then it says or registered in registry of deeds as document number. So you don't fill that out.
Oh, good. Yes, I see it now, the parenthetical.
Yep, and down below also the parenthetical. I wouldn't have used that term, but that's awesome.
Yep. So the parenthetical doesn't apply, so all that's good. So what time would it be good for me to swing by tomorrow?
Brian?
She's not going to be there.
Right.
No, but if
I
you
know.
could drop it off at town hall, it will be there.
Well, I'd be going to town hall anyway, right? So me being the chair, I can print that out and bring it to town hall.
Ah, okay, all right.
And then sign it in front of the,
Yeah, so should we just, in this case, it could, yeah, I can do it in the morning tomorrow, but after that, it's going to be difficult.
well,
Katrina, if there's something you want to email me, I'm at the office now. I could run off a copy and just leave it with the assistant town clerk, Max, and he's here at 8 in the morning. Is that
Awesome.
easier?
that's great. Why don't
Yeah,
we do
just
that?
email me the file. I'll print it and leave it on Max's desk.
Did you by any chance get the planning board packet?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll forward that to you, and it's one of the pages in the packet.
Does that sound like a plan?
So Ray, I guess just to be, are we going to authorize you to just sign it and that'll suffice?
That's good. That's good by me for something like this. If you want to do it, I forget exactly how Katrina put it. Make a motion that I can sign on the planning board's behalf this Form J certificate of performance for Major Boyd.
Second.
All those in favor? Ray Cook, aye.
Tim Cronin, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Okay, so
Perfect.
there you go. So I just sent that to you, Angus. And this is like the second page of the PDF document that went out that I just forwarded to you. And then tomorrow I'll stop by in the morning sometime.
Yeah.
Got it.
And
Oh,
Jen
wow.
Reardon is a notary also.
Good,
Okay. I'll leave this in the town clerk's office.
good.
Thank you, Angus.
You got it. No trouble at all.
Thank you, everybody. Now,
Can we just go back to the A&R plan? You brought up a good question, Ray. So that one needs to be signed as well, right?
Mhm.
now, since I wasn't part of the discussion of the A&R,
Yeah.
but I probably shouldn't sign it. On the other hand, I'm very familiar with A&Rs, and
Did you weren't here for the vote, were you?
I wasn't here for the vote.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
I wouldn't sign.
yeah.
Agree.
I've signed it. Tim
Okay,
can't, but we still need Deb to sign it, or we have to wait until Ann returns. I think Deb was there to vote on it.
yes,
I
I
think
think
so.
she was. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so I'll stop by tomorrow. Where is it located?
It was in the
It's in the
lobby.
vestibule.
Oh,
um,
perfect. Okay.
A rolled up plan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good. I'll stop by tomorrow and sign it.
And then, Katrina, could you drop Deb an email and ask her to swing by and sign the A&R?
Sign it.
And did my email with the contact list, did that show up?
I only have one little screen here, so I'm not checking
No
things.
worries. No worries. You can let me know if I need to forward that again.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Second item on the agenda is an ADU presentation by our building enforcement officer, the distinguished Sam Jocelyn. You gave this presentation to another group, didn't you, recently, Sam?
This will be my fourth time. So Angus apparently liked it enough last time. He wanted to see it again. Once in Groveland wasn't enough. So there's still a lot more questions than answers.
Actually, I'm sorry, Sam, if I could just interrupt briefly, Ray, I have to leave the meeting shortly. I have a capital improvements committee meeting, but I just wanted to, join tonight's meeting at the beginning, really just to join the board and welcome Katrina. So I will be dropping off the meeting, but that's why I'm here. Sorry, Sam, I heard it once.
I thought I had a fan.
Go.
You do, Sam. Yeah.
So I know in her first couple of weeks, she'll be meeting with each of you individually, as well as obviously as a board, and it's just terrific. So I'm so happy she's here, and I know you all are too. And I think I don't want to speak for you, Katrina, but she seems pretty excited about the range of pretty interesting things going on in town. So I know she's going to jump in with both feet.
You know what? Truthfully, I am more impressed with the people I have met so far, more than anything. It's such a relief to work with such good people.
Well, let's hope we don't disappoint you tonight. You got a whole bunch of new people here that might not live up to that standard. Thank you, Angus, and I appreciate very much you showing up and doing everything you can to bring Katrina on board. We're lucky to have her.
Definitely. All right. Have a good meeting. Thanks very much.
Angus.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Angus.
Bye.
See ya.
So
Sam, this ADU presentation, when you put it together, who is your target audience?
initially it was building officials. So I put it together for our district meeting that we have monthly in Haverhill. Although now I've been told by the state we have to stop calling it the district meeting because the state inspector hasn't shown up for the last 15 years. So it's a meeting within the district that we're holding, I guess. Yeah, gotta love the state, But anyway, then I did the presentation again for some building officials for the Mass Building Commissioners Association. Then last week for Groveland, which Angus was there. And I was hoping he'd leave before I got to it, but he didn't. And now I'm here.
Very good. So I guess I asked that because I wanted to kind of know in advance what level of understanding of ADUs your audience has had in the past. And it sounds like these are informed people. And
Yes.
Groveland, did you give it to the public in general or to the planning board there, or?
It was to the planning board. So I had gone in months ago to give them a heads up this was coming. Unlike our bylaw, Groveland's is so far from what the state is now requiring that it's going to be a heavy lift there.
Gotcha.
For us, not so bad. The good thing is I have a different council in each town to rely on. And then I also have the district members and my MBCA members whose councils are feeding the group. So we've got a list on this. Basically, it's 2 paragraphs for the most part that we're talking about. And then I have 3 slides. One is the what we know, One is the general consensus, and then one is the questions we have. And I've been talking with EOHLC, which is the Economic Office of Housing and Livable Conditions, which under the Affordable Homes Act is the entity that has been given permission to give guidance. They've been biting their tongue for a little bit, trying to figure this out. They're now working with the Attorney General to try to give guidance while limiting liability and not end up in court where we think a lot of these questions will end up getting resolved eventually. So,
Well,
yeah, good stuff.
Are you familiar with how to share your screen and all that good stuff?
I was hoping Jen had sent her presentation.
Oh, I can, let me see if I can get it.
Because I don't have access to my office computer through my tablet, which at some point I gotta talk to.
You're on your iPad.
Yeah, I gotta get Jake to get me a remote login.
Gotcha. And do you? I've been calling you Sam all these years. Do you prefer Samuel because it says Samuel?
Oh yeah, no, I never noticed that. Yeah, Sam's fine.
Okay.
You know,
I just
the only time it's Samuel is if I'm in trouble with my mom. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There it is.
awesome.
Okay, now let me see.
Yeah, so it's only 5 slides. Like I said, there's section 7 and section 8 of the Affordable Homes Act. And then, like I said, the 3 slides giving the what we know, what we don't. And the list of questions is growing by the day.
Now, it's my understanding that with respect to our bylaw, that the only real difficulty is the ownership business, right?
That's the biggest impact. There's some smaller issues that, you know, when we go through this, you'll see what we have to do. And I just don't think it's going to be a heavy lift for us. But there are some questions that we need to answer beyond owner occupancy.
Good.
So,
okay. Well, why don't you jump right in?
Sure. And just to warn you, the 2 slides are highlighted to death. It's really ugly, but that is intentional. As with a lot of 40A, they cram a lot into one sentence. So what we've done is broken it down bit by bit to try and just highlight what we know about this so far. So we could hit the next slide and we will see how ugly it is. See, I almost ran out of colors. Yeah. So anyway, section 7 redefines ADU in section 140A. And this is one of the problems is they've redefined accessory dwelling unit so that our current definition is no longer a valid definition of accessory dwelling unit. Not a big deal with us. We can take the state definition, add it in, and go from there. Some towns allow, like Groveland allows up to 1,000 square feet. If we want to continue to keep that, we have to call that something other than an accessory dwelling unit. And we've not received guidance on that yet, what it is. Is it a large accessory dwelling unit, not an accessory dwelling unit? So, but it's a self-contained housing unit with sleeping, cooking, sanitary facilities on the same lot as the principal dwelling. So right there, it just calls out that it's on the same lot and does not talk about attached or detached. For us, doesn't matter. We already allowed it. Other towns, that's one of their questions.
Gotcha.
Subject to otherwise applicable dimensional and parking requirements, which I'll get to the dimensional and parking requirements further on. Maintain separate entrance, either directly from the outside or through an entry hall shared with the principal dwelling, sufficient to meet requirements of state building code. So these are not units like a guest suite above the garage where you can walk down and into the kitchen, or truly what some would consider an in-law suite where it's one house with maybe 2 kitchens or a separate portion of the house. These are 2 distinct dwelling units with their own means of egress. So not larger than half the gross floor area of the principal dwelling, or 900 square feet, whichever is smaller. So if you had a 1,400 square foot ranch, you'd only be allowed a 700 square foot ADU. The subject to additional restrictions, including but not limited to size restrictions, which that is on the next section. And then also short-term rentals. Thankfully, we deleted that from our zoning, so we do not have to worry about it. And I'm even more happy now that we did. And then one of the big questions is no municipality shall unreasonably restrict the creation of a rental or a rental of an accessory dwelling unit. But we don't have any definition of what is reasonable or unreasonable, other than other court cases that were part of 48.3, which is your Dover protected items. So next slide, if you could. Oh, yep.
Before we go to the next slide, two things. One here is that the owner occupancy bit might fall into a reasonable restriction on the rental of the ADU.
No.
No? Okay.
No, actually, if you hold the questions,
I will.
I think once I get through it and we get to what we know, what we don't,
Okay.
you can see where we're having troubles. And yes, there's a lot of it.
Okay. The
so-
other thing I wanted to mention to Katrina, just so she knows right now, when I mentioned the Brian Murphy principle, we've had discussions over the years on bylaws that we've been working on where we think we're pretty clever, and I think we are. But the Brian Murphy principle is that if there's already some sort of state law or state definition, that unless it's really important, we just stick to what's already been established to simplify life. And so the 900 square feet, we talked about this a lot before we created our own bylaw, and the Brian Murphy principle prevailed over the size of the ADU.
Once in a while, it works.
It's a good principle. It's a good principle.
It
All
is.
right, Sam, go right ahead, Sam.
All right, so next one. So you can see this is again, a large paragraph added to section 3. And it goes through no zoning ordinance or bylaw shall prohibit, unreasonably restrict, or require a special permit or other discretionary zoning approval for the usage of land or structures for a single accessory dwelling unit rental thereof in a single family residential zoning district. So there's a lot in this first sentence. Again, we cannot unreasonably restrict. We can't require special permits or other zoning approvals that are just at our discretion. And it's for the use of the land or structures for a single accessory dwelling unit. And the reason I call that out is there's some discussion on the single accessory dwelling unit, which we'll get to, or the rental thereof, which they call out specifically, owner occupancy for either the primary or secondary or rental is not allowed. And then it says in a single family residential zoning district. So with no definition of a single family residential zoning district, the assumption is that is any zoning district that would allow a single family dwelling as of right.
But since we have duplexes by right.
Yep. So then the question is, I'm in a single family residential zoning district in a 3-family. Can I have a detached accessory dwelling unit? And we'll get to those answers in the next slide. See, I'm gonna keep you waiting, build the suspense.
Yeah.
Yes. Again, they bring out the reasonable regulations. One of those, and one of the big questions everyone asks, is your health, sanitary, and building code. So 310 CMR is your Title V, your septic systems. If you can't fit a septic that would accommodate it, you can't have it. So that is a definitive known. If you can't get it to meet the building code, you can't have it. So those are very well defined in other regulations. So you don't get a pass. The only pass you get on this is for zoning, not for building and health and sanitary.
So I find this language a little confusing, but what it's saying here awkwardly is that the setbacks, bulk and height, those are considered reasonable restrictions.
Those are considered reasonable because they're already part of your chapter 3 when you get into educational, religious uses, and agricultural. And then there's a little footnote on that sometimes even regulating those in specific cases may not be considered reasonable. And those are some of the questions we need legal counsel on, or guidance from EOHLC to say, this is really what we mean and how this will work. Some of that we're not going to get, some of it we'll see court cases. So, and then they get into the requirement shall not require owner occupancy of either accessory dwelling unit or the principal.
Oh, well, there it is.
Yes, so that is an absolute, we got to strike that. Then they get into parking. We can't require any more than one parking space for an accessory dwelling unit. And if it's within half mile of a transit station, we can't require any additional. Considering our parking requirements right now are for adequate parking, and I think we have plenty of land. I don't think this is a big deal, but in some locations like your Haverhills, that is problematic. So, because it doesn't say, does the parking space have to be off-street parking, on-street parking, shared driveway, separate driveway? You know, so which leaves a lot to the cities and towns, and then what is reasonable at that point. And again, that goes back to the what you think's reasonable and I think's reasonable may not be the same thing, which leads to court cases.
And a bus station is distinct from a bus stop, I'm sure.
That is the general consensus, because yes, that was the concern, because bus stops are everywhere, bus stations are not. So, but again, that's where we want EOHLC to give us definitive guidance to say, yes, we mean station, not, you know, a shelter with a little bus symbol on it that you stand out in. So you can, if you allow more than one accessory dwelling unit or rental thereof, you can do that by special permit. At this point, I don't think that's something we're necessarily considering yet. And then this is kind of the big problem at the end. It said EOHLC may issue guidelines, not shall issue. So we have confirmation at this point they do intend to, where early on they said we don't even know if we have the intent to give these guidelines. So the good thing, where I'm the president of the MBCIA, EOHLC reached out to me because they want to use building officials for some data gathering. And the nice conversation we had was awesome. You want data, we want guidance, we should be able to work together very well. So we'll see how that goes.
Sam, before we leave this page, in that gray highlighted section, it says there shall be a special permit.
Mhm.
Does that mean that we have to allow more than one ADU on a lot and that we have to have a special permit process for doing it?
Yeah, so if you are, and it's really poorly written because they've already told us that if you want a second ADU, you can have a special permit process. There were questions, can you do it as of right? And the general consensus was sure. If you want to allow multiple ADUs on a lot, that's up to you and your city or town.
And what if you don't? What if you only want to allow one ADU per lot?
Then that's all you have to.
Yeah, I
Alright.
think if you look at the first sentence, Ray, up in the yellow there, it talks about a single accessory dwelling unit, thankfully.
And
That's
is
what's allowed.
right.
Yeah, I was just confused by the, there shall be a special
Right.
permit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to me, it sounds like that a special permit has to be required if you are going to allow more than one accessory dwelling unit there.
And to
Yeah,
me, to me, when I read this, it says you shall allow more than one ADU and have a special permit process for doing so.
I think
So,
it's just
Sam,
poorly.
I didn't think this was going to be as confusing as it already is to me. Yeah, very good.
It's insane that in a definition and one more slide that it is insane. And then we've already had arguments on a single accessory dwelling unit in a single family residential zone, because now if I have a duplex and it's condoed, who gets the ADU?
Right.
Right.
We
Do they
had that
both?
discussion.
Yeah.
We had that
So-
discussion, if you remember.
So the next slide, I will show you what we know and has been confirmed, and there is no real discussion on. As of February 2nd, it's in full gear. Our local bylaws are in effect until then, and then we are to use the state bylaw or state 40A, zoning. One of the, I guess that's one of the problems, is the state wanted cities and towns to make the changes to their local bylaws in preparation for the February 2nd, which with no lead time. So really no one will be ready, or very few will be ready. We'll be better off than some, but my initial meeting with you, I think I said we are just going to sit on our hands. Now, after reviewing and talking with legal counsel, we should amend our bylaw to the best of our ability for the spring.
That's
And it
fine.
may not, might not be
I
perfect.
think when we talked about this previously, we thought we're going to try to do something by fall, and the consensus was no, let's wait till all this stuff gets sorted out. We can make changes for spring.
Yeah, and I don't think we'll be all sorted out by spring. I don't think the state will be. I think we should be 95% there, and
Yeah.
probably we're not going to run into anything, and we can amend, if we need to later on based on,
Sure.
guidance and court cases. So
Yep.
we talked about the ADUs being half of the primary dwelling, or 900 square feet, whichever is less, which is as of right in a single family district. Again, with no definition of what a single family district is, only assumptions. ADUs are complete dwelling units. We can regulate or require site plan review and other reasonable regulations, which again points back to Dover Act protected uses. So we can't prohibit them or make site plan review so restrictive that it makes it unfeasible to do the project. Can't require owner occupancy of either unit, can't limit the ADU to an in-law or relative, can't limit the number of bedrooms or number of occupants. A lot of can'ts. We can require one parking space. We can require a special permit for more than one ADU. And we can require a special permit or variance process if it doesn't meet the definition of ADU under the Act. So again, like Groveland, if we decide we're going to allow 900 square feet as of right under the Act, but we'll
only point in World Cup.
Have a special permit process for something larger, we can do that. The problem is then we have to call that something larger something other than ADU because it no longer meets the definition. So that's causing a little bit of confusion. And we can regulate or prohibit short-term rentals of ADUs. Again, we don't have to worry about it. Hi, Deb. And then ADUs, and we keep stressing this point to zoning and building officials. Under the building code, there is no such thing as an ADU. It's a dwelling unit. And all regulations that apply to a dwelling unit apply to an ADU. So that's a tough one to swallow, especially for inspectors that wear the two hats of zoning enforcement and building code enforcement. Because now we've got this thing, and really where the problem we're finding is along the way with local zoning, cities and towns and building officials, zoning officials have done a little bit of their own thing. And if it's an in-law apartment, even though it's truly not an in-law and it meets the definition of a dwelling, or a rental unit or whatever, because it was an ADU, a lot of cities and towns weren't making those ADUs meet the building code for a dwelling unit. And then there's cities and towns that have specifics. Haverhill's one of them, and I don't mean to pick on them, but it was something we were bringing to their council because they had just put it in. They need to share an electrical service. Well, if you have a detached ADU under the building code, which encompasses the electrical code, you need separate drops, a separate service for each dwelling unit. You cannot have your service go through that.
Wow.
So we have a lot of zoning that we're finding was written with the intent initially of having it truly be, you know, an in-law caretaker's unit that was somewhat attached to the house and functioned as a single family. It's morphed into now, you know, 2 dwelling units on a lot, and some of those regulations are really being shown a spotlight on. Luckily, we don't have that here, but
You could conceivably, you could have a house with an in-law apartment and then separately on the same lot, an ADU.
you are good, Ray. That is on the next slide. So the problem is under the definition of ADU, and one of the questions we have is if you have something that was prior permitted that was either an in-law or an ADU that does not meet the definition of an ADU anymore, can I then add an ADU? When we talk to the EOHLC, because their interest is creating housing, and so is the Act, the general guidance we're getting is the Act is silent on it, but it pushes into that direction. So both with, you know, attached and detached, it doesn't say anything. The general consensus is they mean attached and detached. Can you place it on a non-conforming lot? Again, the Act doesn't say it has to be a conforming lot, just a lot in a single family residential district. So again, it points towards probably. Existing in-laws ADUs remain in effect until 2/2. So if we had special conditions, special permit or renewal process for ADUs, that goes out the window. Come 2/2, we can no longer enforce that if it meets the definition of an ADU. Where that bites us is in the next section, which is what you were bringing up, Ray. If it's an ADU or an in-law that doesn't meet the requirement, we could continue to have those special requirements from the special permit conditions apply. But that also ends up being a double-edged sword, because now if that's not an ADU under the Act, the question comes up, well, then I should be able to add an ADU because it's no longer an ADU, which is, you know, you go in circles with this. So single family district, we talked about it. It's a zone that allows single families as a right. If it's in a zone that doesn't allow a single family as a right, the general consensus is you could have a special permit. So if you had a business zone that didn't allow single families as a right, which Groveland's one of those, and I have a single family, we could then require them potentially, the general consensus is to get a special permit because there is no as of right for a dwelling unit, single family or otherwise. Special permits can be required for a second ADU on the lot, and you can't require the ADUs to be affordable. That is one thing folks were looking at as making this a more difficult process, the ones that don't want it, sending them through the process to make it an affordable unit to go towards our 10%. In the Act, it specifically leaves that out, and although it's the Affordable Homes Act, there's not a requirement for it to be affordable, you know, quote unquote. The idea is that being a smaller unit, it will be lower in price and therefore be affordable.
But if you were to require it to qualify as affordable under state regulations, that would be considered a unreasonable regulation of the ADU.
That is the general consensus because it puts a hardship on the creation of the ADU. If someone wants to do it voluntarily, absolutely. But right now there, and again, these are the questions I don't have an answer to. We have a general consensus for the most part, but this is some of the questions we have going to EOHLC to, give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, or, we'll wait for the courts, which in some of these questions they've said right out, they are just going to wait for the courts to handle it because they don't know.
Maybe it's on the next slide, but if I had a duplex on a single lot and even more fun, let's say that the duplex are different sizes, then are you allowed 2 ADUs without special permit? And then which square footage of the principal residence would require?
Hey, see, you're leading the charge right. You're just moving my slides along.
Okay.
So yes, next slide. So yes, that is part of this slide. I'll get to it somewhere in there. But so one of the problems we have too is they talk about 900 square feet of gross floor area with no definition in the act for gross floor area, and different towns define gross floor area differently.
Yeah.
So we need a definition there. No definitions given on reasonable. So we need some help there. There's no specific prohibition on condoing of either unit or both units. So I'm a developer, I come in, it doesn't need to be owner occupied, buy the single family house, put up an ADU, condo the lot and sell them both.
Yeah, doesn't seem like an ADU that way to me.
So 2 councils in 2 towns, 2 different opinions. One said absolutely yes, because with zoning, you cannot regulate ownership. The other said absolutely you can, because then there's not an accessory unit.
Yeah.
Right. We have the word accessory in this. It has to be accessory to the main use.
Well, how
Well,
does ownership dictate what's accessory?
Yeah.
Because if I rent it, which one do I have an accessory?
Katrina, you're being too logical here. You need to think like a lawyer instead.
Yeah, and that's really the problem. I mean, I think honestly,
Or a developer.
And that's what the developers are coming in because they're going, hey, this would be a cash cow if I just go around buying up single family houses, throw a second single family in the backyard and sell them off. But how's that different? Then the argument was, how's that different from doing that and renting? So good conversations to be had. And again, like I said, I'm going to leave you with more questions than answers, but
see, to me, that's where the owner occupancy thing
Right.
would make it all work. But
absolutely.
And we can't make ours stricter than the state. We can't include that.
That would be probably unreasonable, but again, those are the questions we're asking to try and figure out. We're hoping by December to have EOHLC give us some decent guidance, and then we can start figuring out what to do. But we'll see.
But that's 2 months before town meeting, isn't it?
No, town meeting is in May.
Yeah,
So
2
did
months
you say
before
they're coming out with the guidance in February?
No, this act goes into full effect February 2nd. Guidance, we're hoping they'll get to us by December, but they may not. And then we're just taking our best guess come February, which is awesome. So yeah, good times ahead.
in the legal world, where does taking your best guess come in?
Hey, anyone want to be a zoning enforcement officer? I think there's a position up for grabs.
Yeah, it's a question about the enforceability of guidelines too, right? I mean,
Yeah, and I think
regulations.
So
Exactly.
the reality is, I don't think, knock on wood, this is going to make any type of huge immediate impact for us. Most people that own a property, if they put an ADU in, it's for their own use. You know, we see this hitting the lower income communities because developers or people that want to be landlords will buy those houses before they come to a West Newbury, Newburyport, Newbury, and buy a house for 900 to, you know, and up. So that's not a guaranteed protection, but you know, and then most of what people want is pretty reasonable themselves. So hopefully we'll see. But anyway,
But Sam, I do think that once the regulations come out, once the town adopts the revised zoning, your enforcement of the ADU bylaw will be easier than it is today because there's no ownership, you know, you have to be checking on. And I haven't even read what West Newbury has yet. But that must be a tough thing to enforce.
yeah, I mean, we really, you know, you'd never know one way or the other. I mean, people say they have to swear that yes, I will, and it's a nice thing to have in place, but you know, I think overall this isn't going to make a huge change other than when you get people that want to challenge the norm. Because the norm is either an attached or detached ADU for the family's use some way or another, whether it's a parent, a kid, or a rental, just so they can afford to stay on their property. You know, so we'll see how it plays out. So on
That's the thing. Yeah, I just, you know, throughout history, particularly with engineering and biological things, there's that whole business of unintended consequences.
Mhm.
And my little internal flag is just waving like mad that now, who
it
knows?
should be.
Yeah.
Anyone reading this at a higher level probably thought this is wonderful because we're going to give people what they want, give them an opportunity to make some nice little affordable units, and not reading it with a zoning hat or building hat or developer hat on. And then you start picking it apart and it's a nightmare.
It's all part of making the sausage, Sam.
Absolutely. You know what? Honestly, this is the stuff I really enjoy because it's so messy and watching it play out, and how do you play the game to unmess it, at least in the short term, till someone comes up with something different. It's actually a fun part of zoning. Sad to say on my part what I consider fun, but it is. It's if nothing else, it's pretty fascinating to see what people come up with for potential ways to mess with the system. So
I will point out that there is, I would say, a very good chance that this will result in more good stuff than bad
Right.
stuff.
Mhm.
Right.
absolutely.
Yes.
So with ADUs, we talked about before, if there was a prior in-law or an ADU that no longer meets the definition, can you then add an ADU? Having conflicting regulations that impact the ability to add an ADU, like some cities and towns have an increased Title V requirement under a local bylaw. Is that then reasonable anymore? I know Newbury increased when we were there, they increased the flow rate, the Board of Health, that you had to get to have a passing Title V system. Is that now a violation of the Affordable Homes Act because that limits the development? Or if you have and I would say that's probably based on what was your reasoning for it, so that's something that we need to look at. OSRDs, subdivisions, things along that, can you condition those? So we have a subdivision with 8 houses on it. Can we condition it for no ADUs? Open space residential, probably the subdivision, the general answer is leaning towards no. If it's a single family district and you have that, probably. But an OSRD where you're giving, a smaller lot for open space.
Yeah.
Could you then limit that, and is that reasonable? So
Yeah,
that's something we need to find out.
Yeah, I know with the subdivision, you would never be able to add that as a condition unless there was a special permit involved, because as long as you're meeting all the subdivision regulations, you have to approve a subdivision plan. There's no discretion in it, really.
Right. And I mean, I think really what it comes down to is cities and towns, that question comes out of, can we hold them hostage and either bleed them for additional funds, or if we don't want these things, put it on as some sort of condition and force them into an agreement while they're hoping we'll approve their subdivision. I think that's
what I see here with the open space is that the only way to add some of these ADUs, whether attached or detached, you're gonna get into the setbacks or get into the open space itself.
right.
And so, I mean, how does that work? That you have the whole thing was designed and built, and you know how developers are, they got that open space right to the decimal point.
Mhm.
Now, are you allowed to put in an ADU even if that now takes up what had been set aside as open space?
You know, and common sense would say probably. You know, if you
No.
want an ADU, put it within the existing house, put it in your basement, your attic. You know, I
Okay.
don't
Well,
know.
in that case, a special permit was issued. And so if there's a special permit behind the subdivision, I think that you could probably have more power to say yes or no.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and then the question comes up though, you can't require a special permit on an ADU because they're as of right in any single family district. And again, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Most likely, yes, but these are, again, more questions we want EOHLC to say, you know, and the Attorney General to weigh in on and go, yes, we think that is reasonable.
I
And
mean,
again, it still can be challenged in court. But if
Yeah.
we have EOHLC and the Attorney General agreeing with it's reasonable, we get a good chance in court.
I would just, Brian, I know you got something.
somebody, Ray,
Go
you
ahead,
know,
Brian.
somebody living in Daily Drive or on Follinsby Lane says, you know, I just want to slap a extra little room on here, and you know, my the hell with the neighbors. I would think the condo association is going to be very upset about that.
Yep. Well, and that's
You know,
right. And a condo association prohibited ADU.
yeah. So
But I wouldn't think that the condo association could have more authority here than the state law. But
Right.
the thing you run into here, you know, let's say that you do that. You got one of these units where you could put an ADU in the basement, finish off the basement. But now you're required to put an extra parking space there.
Mhm.
Picture Follinsby Lane. You can't shoehorn another parking space anywhere in there.
no, we've been down that road.
Just gonna
Yeah.
pave the neighborhood.
So I mean, how do you do that?
Put a bus stop up front
Yeah.
or a bus station. Yeah,
Oh
I don't
my
know. The reason, and this is why I wanted to just bring it to the planning board's attention, that this is
Yeah.
all ongoing. We don't know. We're learning more each day. We're getting some guidance, but very limited. We're hoping to have extensive guidance before year end. I don't know if that's a lot of wishing, but yeah.
I also think it's pretty lame to say, oh, we'll let the courts figure it out. I mean, because
It's so bad.
that's such a burden on the judicial system. They got bigger things to be concerned with.
I got the same thing with Mass Office on Disability and Department of Energy with the do you need your EV vehicles to any of those to be handicap space? MOD said we wrote our regulations, and I think it was either 94 or 92, and there were no EVs. And DOER said it's not our requirement. So our question was, well, what do we do? And the answer was, it'll work itself out.
Oh,
And they
great.
said, yes, in court with me there, you know. So yeah, the state's not been particularly helpful as of late with some of the changes they've been coming up with. So anyway, you know, as I get more info, I will get it to you guys as I redesign the bylaw. I will work with Katrina to see if we can come up with a best guess as to what'll work. And then, oh, side note, just large battery storage systems. I did revise most of the bylaw. I still have one outstanding question, but Groveland got their large battery storage system approved by the Attorney General. And I loved their comments because it's exactly what I was going for, which was a warning of we're walking the line of prohibition, but there's nothing in there that's violative. Because what I wanted to do while we're learning about these is give us the most discretion on decisions and asking for information we could. And the AG said it was bordering on prohibitive, but absolutely legal. So I was psyched with that determination. As long as we don't use it to specifically prohibit and only for guidance, we should be in good shape. But it was I was psyched because it was really the mark I wanted to hit, was that we're going to push it to the limits until we really have better guidance again from the state and the authorities that have jurisdiction over these battery systems and the regulations. So anyway, I thought that was cool.
Well, Sam, thank you very much for putting this together and showing it to us. And yeah, there's more here than I thought would be here.
There is a lot. And like I said, daily, I'm getting inspectors shooting me questions going, hey, can you add this to the list? You know, the Planners Association, I know they're working on their own list of asks, which a lot of it coincides with what we're asking. So it's awesome. Should be fun.
Good. Appreciate
Before you go, Sam.
Yeah.
What's the status of ADUs in West Newbury since we passed the bylaw?
As far as, have we had a lot of them?
Have we had any?
Yeah, a few.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing, you know, the town didn't explode. We didn't double the population, anything like that.
No, I wasn't expecting that. But about how many have we had, and are they generally detached, attached?
We have a few, probably 3 to 5 that are either issued or in process, and then a handful of tire kickers, and a lot more since this is kind of coming around and people are aware. I don't think people were even aware we had that.
No.
We just got one in that was 868 square feet, and the build cost was almost 700,000.
Holy smoke.
Man.
I can't wait to see it.
And now I assume that's a detached unit?
That is a detached unit. We had it in attached modular go in at 9 Sullivan's. So that was a definite add-on, and that's exactly what we wanted. It's parents moving in. They're having health issues, I believe, or something along those lines.
That was the judge. That was noted in a Boston Globe or a.
Yep, it was just in a news article. Yep, so it's exactly what we want, is that multi-generational household where, you know, the kids could use some help probably with the house. I'm just guessing, and parents need some help. So awesome pairing, you know.
Yeah, I'm a little frightened of the whole developer coming in and buying places and making weird condo units. But we'll see.
And
you know, this you know, the sewerage system, this lack thereof in West Newbury is going to have a lot more control than anything else.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I agree. So it'll be interesting to see if you know, if I think of it tomorrow, I'll take a quick look just to see what the actual number of ADUs permitted so far is. Just because now I'm curious too, so I'll take a look, see what.
Curious.
Yeah, it's not a ton. Like I said, there was people that were waiting for the bylaw to pass so they could do it. I think there was either 1 or 2 of them, and we probably had a couple others since then that decided, and again, for reasons of their own family, why they need the extra space. So
great.
Awesome.
Thank you, Sam.
Sure.
Thanks, Sam.
All right. Have a good night.
Good job, Sam.
See you guys
Thank
next go around. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Ted, I don't know if you're if you're already familiar with the fact that about septics and sewerage in town and all that kind of stuff. There is no town sewerage system. Everybody has to have their own septic system, and a lot of the soils around town aren't that great. I don't know how
Yeah.
familiar you are with that. Yeah, okay.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So that's gonna restrict things, especially, they were just saying that the state ADU says you can't restrict the number of bedrooms, but the calculation on your required septic system is based often on the number of bedrooms. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the building, it sounds like the building code still remains and sanitary code, right? Which the septic would fall into that. So either way, there's going to be guardrails there.
Yeah, exactly right.
Especially with 900 square feet. I mean, how many bedrooms can you get out of that?
Exactly. Yeah. Although in New York City, you probably get a pretty penny for a 900 square foot apartment. Open concept.
Even more in Taiwan.
Yeah, well, there you go. All right, then. Thank you, guys. The next agenda item falls under general business. And there are minutes here for a meeting I didn't attend. And so I have a little correction to make. But let's see here. I guess I could share the minutes. Bum, bum, bum. We're here, I think. You guys let me know if this pops up the way it ought to.
It's up.
Okay, and what about the magnification?
Could be bigger. There we
Fine.
go.
Yep.
How about that? Is that good?
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay, so Ray Cook was not in attendance. Good. Any comments on the first two items here, item 1 and item 2? And item 2, I note it says Cook introduced the prospective members. That, of course, can't be true. Tim, were you standing in as the chair?
I was, so that is me.
Cronin.
So that should be Cronin right there.
Okay.
Thank you, Ray.
Yeah.
That one went right by me.
Anything else? No, all right. Item number 3, as much as fits on the screen here. Any
Yeah.
comments? Any corrections?
We learned more just now.
Right. No, that was good. Yeah. I didn't have any corrections.
No.
Good. Thank you, Brian, for caring about my opinion.
Naturally.
Well, I just noted that. Thank you. General business and adjournment. Any corrections?
No.
Move we accept the minutes as corrected.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as amended? Ray Cook, aye.
And Cronin, I.
Deb Hamilton, aye.
And Brian Murphy. So it's unanimous amongst the members in attendance. Very good. Thank you for that. Let's see here. Now I got to change this to that. And the other thing, I imagine that Katrina, you and I will be tag teaming all this kind of stuff over the years.
I believe we will.
Good. Correspondence is the next thing. There wasn't much.
I do have an additional thing though, if you wanted to, if you view the stone walls in West Newbury from the Historic Commission, did you all receive that?
Yeah.
I don't know, do you want to talk about that under correspondence? You tell me, I'm not sure what the norm is.
I would say we should discuss it next time because I'm not prepared. When did we get a stone wall thing?
Oh, it's just really an invitation. The Historic Commission, in the future, they set a date, but it ended up, there was
Oh,
a
yes.
conflict.
Yes.
So they just want at least two members to go whenever they set the date. And they also sent the stone walls presentation, which I'm sure you'll see at that meeting probably.
Good, yeah, well, you know, I'm sure we can rustle up at least one planning board member to come, if not two,
Okay, great.
you know.
Is
And
there
then,
an upcoming meeting?
Yeah, when they get a
They
date,
haven't set or scheduled the date yet,
Okay.
probably around Halloween.
Oh,
very good. Oh, Ted and Katrina, there's my two bodyguards there. I think my wife, I think Marcy's getting back from work and that's what all the excitement is about. The other correspondence was the Newbury Port. And they're having a joint public hearing between the board and the city council about proposed zoning ordinance amendments and dealing with in-law apartments and replacing it with an ADU section.
Right.
There you go.
Sure.
Okay, I'm sorry for the distraction here. That's correspondence.
As usual, we're well ahead of Newburyport.
Yeah,
once
we
again,
are. Proud of that. Administrative details. So this usually, Katrina, is where you fill us in on all kinds of administrative stuff.
All righty, well,
But we don't expect you to have a whole bunch of stuff prepared on day.
I actually do have one thing. I said, I was
Okay.
asking around, I said, do you think they'll let me talk about this when I'm not on the agenda? So here's my chance.
Yes.
I did just receive a request to do the annual report, which is due in December. It's, months away. Is it okay if I start on it?
Oh,
Take a
absolutely.
shot at it, review it,
Sure.
and then bring it to the board's attention, and then you can add to it?
Yeah, and I suggest, and I bet you're already on top of this, but you take a look at the last couple of annual reports. We've
Right.
always kept them pretty simple.
Okay, good. It's
yeah.
really just accounting how many, applications and things
Right.
like that. Okay, good.
Yep. Want to let people know.
And also,
Yeah.
it was suggested that I bring it up to the board. I'm hoping to work Mondays through Wednesdays from like 7 to 3. Does that sound good to the board?
Yeah, I think so. We've always
Okay.
tried to accommodate the planner's schedule. Why don't we, if anybody has,
is there
Yeah.
anybody else there at 7?
The health director. I didn't know it was an option. I brought it up because I am an early riser.
Yeah.
And plus, if you saw me the last 2 days, I've barely been able to look in my computer or look in the files because there's so many people talking and coming in, and it's my own fault too, I know. But when I get in early, it gives me some time to sit down with my computer and get to know it, get to know my files. It's quiet time.
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
think,
I much prefer you taking on this schedule than deciding to be mean to people to keep them from coming by. So I think this is a good
yeah, I mean,
quiet time.
I have no problem with that when I saw you today. I recall that maybe not Sue, but Leah at various times, you get interrupted and all, and you may need to, kind of close the door for, a half hour or an hour or something, and just have a sign out there if somebody was, desperate to see you, if, interruptions and all, and you're new, so everybody wants to come in and say hello and
Right.
how's life and all of that. But I think it sounds like a good idea, and we're always amenable. If things need to be changed in the future, they get changed.
Yeah, and
I brought it up to the board because I brought it up to Angus and he said, well, it sounds good to me, but you should be running it before the board. And so I
Well, I
thought that's
appreciate
really
that.
nice. It's very respectful of the board and he wants you to take the lead.
Well, I appreciate that very much. What I would say is after you've been here a while and sort of hit a routine, if you decide to keep a schedule like that, you might pull the old professor's routine here as well and have office hours. So you might have certain times of certain days where you welcome the public to just come in without having any sort of appointment. And then the other thing would be to have something on the website for how people can get in touch with you if or what to do if they come into a situation that's unexpectedly pressing. But I would expect it'll take a while before you get into some sort of regular routine and really know how you want to organize things.
Right. Yeah, I'll get there.
Oh, I
So
know.
far, so good.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. That's perfect for administrative details. Placement of items for future planning board agendas. I think, unless somebody has something to say here, I think we're okay for now. Again, allowing Katrina to kind of get into the rhythm. I think that's something better to talk about in 2 weeks than now. Other planning board members, do you agree with me on that?
Yeah,
That sounds fine. You know, Sam did bring up the battery storage bylaw too, but I think he's shooting for the spring for that, isn't
Oh, yeah, that's not this fall, no.
he? Right. Yeah, definitely not the fall.
When is your fall town meeting?
Usually late October, isn't it?
I think it's
Yeah.
the 8th or 29th.
Well, that's in
Let
a
me look.
couple of weeks.
That's right.
So you'll be getting your warrants in the mail, right?
Yeah, actually, I had it all written down, but yeah, there's a schedule and you know, you have to have public hearings and all that kind of stuff. I mean,
It's Monday, the 28th. Yeah, our deadline for anything we wanted to present, I think has,
Long
It's
past,
passed.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
John,
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
The
so-
Historic Commission was going to have their meeting on the 28th, and that's why they cannot.
right,
Right.
that's when our fall town
Town
meeting
meeting,
is this
yeah.
year. Yeah,
So it's really up to Sam, right, when he wants to bring it back, you know, but it was a pretty extensive and well thought out proposed bylaw.
yeah, the three big things we have on our plate are, well, big. The MBTA communities, of course, is huge. And will dominate next year's efforts and this fall's efforts. And then sorting out the ADU, I don't expect it to be a big deal because we're so lucky to have Sam. He's such an expert on it.
Yeah,
Our
you are very
bylaw,
lucky to have him.
yeah, and our bylaw is already, you know, pretty much in conformance with the state.
right.
That's good. And then the battery storage things, that's kind of a new thing, but again, we're lucky to have Sam and we've already taken a shot and already given Sam some feedback on it. So I think that's actually surprising to me, but I think that's probably in good shape for spring. And then we have a number of issues which you'll see as you kind of get up to speed on everything, Katrina, that we've been kicking around. Maybe a slopes bylaw and other things that yeah, by you know, in a couple of weeks, that's fine. We should have a better idea of what we want to tackle next. I don't have any items not reasonably anticipated by the chair, except again, welcome Katrina.
Thank you
And-
very much.
just mentioned that, yeah, we have special permit hearing at the next meeting.
Very good.
And
yeah,
Katrina, if there is a period, you've got a couple hours that you'd like to just explore all the corners of town, I'm happy to introduce you to 50 years of knowing the back roads and what's in everybody's backyard.
You
There
know,
we
I
go.
would love that because after talking to several people in the office, I have no clue where anything is.
Right.
And I said, oh, I'll take a different way home tonight. I did, Brian, go by what you suggested, the major, what is it called?
Major Floyd Drive or
Yes,
Ocean
I
Meadow?
did go by that today.
Yep.
But I don't know where anything else is.
So
So
let's
send me an email and just let me know what your availability is, because I won't I think I'm popping in Thursday just because I'm at jury duty tomorrow and there was a meeting Angus wanted me to go to, but I'm just gonna come in Thursday for that meeting. But before or after, I'm free. So just get in touch with me.
And
And-
what's the best way to do that, Katrina?
Well, you can email me at the same old email, townplanner@West Newbury, and then I'll give you my number tomorrow because this is a public meeting and I don't think we should be sharing numbers at a public meeting.
Okay,
I already get enough spam.
I'm also gonna give each of us the assignment, if you haven't already, to find a way to meet Katrina in person and introduce yourself, tell her, so she knows who we are. So so over the next 2 weeks, as schedules allow, that would be good. And then I'm gonna be popping by tomorrow, although you'll be in jury duty. But I've got my little assignment here for that certificate to sign. And then Deb, we still have that approval not required, that A&R plan needs signatures.
oh, all right,
Yeah, so if you could swing,
That's in the
if you could
vestibule.
swing by, yeah, and sign that.
yep,
Since I wasn't part of the meeting.
I will put it on my tomorrow list.
There
Are you in
go.
tomorrow, Katrina?
No, I'm at
she's
jury duty.
duty.
Oh, you said that, yes.
Yeah, and hopefully it's one of those jury duties where the judge comes in just before noon and says, everybody was scared of you guys. They all settled out of court. We'll see you later.
I hope so, but it's, it's in Salem and there's no parking in Salem, which is a drag.
Yeah.
I was
Well,
hoping to get home and make that call. They used to have that call by 3 the day before.
Yeah,
And they didn't do that on this one.
The last time I was scheduled for jury duty, I got an email at the
Really?
very last minute.
Oh, well, I may still be in tomorrow if I get an email.
I was getting ready to jump in the car and to get there early, and there was an email saying, nope, we're canceled.
All right. Well, that's good advice.
So check that before you jump in your car tomorrow.
Now, Tim, you have to sign the A&R also?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, good.
So it's gonna be at the front door, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect. Thank
Very
you.
good. Is that it then?
That's
All
all
right,
I can.
well, I move to adjourn.
Second?
A motion to adjourn may not be discussed. All those in favor, Ray Cook, aye.
Brian Murphy.
Aaron Murphy, Deb, Tim, it's unanimous. Thank you, Ted, as always, for showing up. Thank you, Adam Stone, for being
Thanks,
here.
Adam.
And thanks
sorry
again.
I was so late signing in, but
No worries.